Today on the DML News Podcast, we're going to be discussing a whole plethora of things, including how Trump is fighting for women and judges are looking to stop him. We've got these stories and so much more today, so get ready because it's all unfiltered.
Dennis Michael Lynch gives you his word, and he will never let you down. He will always fight for America.
The only one who really puts his money where his mouth is Dennis Michael Lynch.
Hello, I'm Dennis Michael Lynch, and I thank you for joining me today. Across from me is my son, Denny, and on the controls, my other son, Ryan. We come to you here proudly each and every day, live on Facebook, live on X, live on Rumble. We post it to YouTube, and of course, we're always live on Team DML with all of our great members. We thank them so much. Without them, we would not be a company. We would not be a podcast. We want to just tell you real quick, 47report.com. We've got it up on the big screen. When Ryan changes the camera angle, you'll see it. 47report.com is the fastest growing newsletter in the country. We are growing so fast. In fact, our heads are spinning. People are coming in every day because they want to know everything there is to know about the Trump administration, the Trump agenda, what is happening, and how the left is trying to prevent it from happening. We cover it all and everything that you can possibly imagine. We're up until midnight. I'm up at 4 o'clock in the morning to get it to you before the sun rises. We're barely sleeping because this is the most important time. We promised that for the first 100 days, we would be on it like white on rice. And there's nobody who's any better. And we're going to be doing it for all 4 years. We got the 47report.com. We've taken it a step further. I registered 48report.com because I think J.D. Vance is going to carry this country 8 years after Trump. So do us a favor. Support us. It's completely for free. Go to 47report.com. That's a 4 and a 7 numeralized. 47report.com. Sign up. You will get it every single day in your inbox from sender Mr. Lynch. If you do not get it, check out your spam folders because the people at Gmail and the people at AOL and Yahoo and Hotmail, they're all radical idiots, and they will do everything and anything quietly these days to try to silence people like you and silence people like me, but we will not have it. So please go to 47report.com and join the thousands of people who joined yesterday and the day before and the day before and the day before. We're going to have millions by the next couple of months. With that said, also want to let you know, dmlcbd.com/BOGO, B-O-G-O, stands for buy one, get one. We have that special running. We do it a couple of times a year. It's now until February 10. February 10 it ends. dmlcbd.com/BOGO. You always see I've got my little Miracle Me sitting here on the desk. Every time that Ryan cuts to Denny and nobody's looking, I'm rubbing it on my neck and on my shoulders because I have tech neck from looking down at this computer all day long and especially doing the newsletter. So go there. It will save you so much pain. It is unbelievable. You'll sleep better. Your eczema, your skin issues, all that stuff just seems to say, I don't have a chance to fight against DMLCBD. So dmlcbd.com/BOGO. With that in mind, we're going to get a video set up here to play right away. It's of Trump signing an executive order yesterday. And the executive order basically says that men can no longer play in women's sports. It is the most simple, easy to understand executive order of all time. You don't have to understand the nuances of immigration. You don't have to understand the proliferation of nuclear science. There's nothing special about it. You don't need to sit with somebody and say, can you explain this to me? I just don't get it. A man which has a penis, which was born a man with a penis, is no longer allowed to play in women's sports, women who were born with a vagina. It is as old as life itself. Men have penises, girls have vaginas. Remember that little movie where the little boy says that? If you want an indication of how sick and ill and backwards our country became over the last few years, all you have to do is take a look at what we allowed to happen. Now, I want to remind you of a couple things before I go getting into my little couple-minute rant here. Do you remember when Donald J. Trump won the election in 2016? There were thousands upon thousands upon thousands of women who showed up in Washington, D.C. with pink vagina hats. Do you remember that? They had pink vagina hats on top of their head. And they marched up and down Washington, D.C. because they said that Donald J. Trump was anti-woman, that he was a misogynist, that he was all these bad things. They changed the tune so quickly, though, when it turned out to be that men wanted to play in girls' sports. Here are the same people who have been fighting for women's rights for decades and decades and decades, and they got it. Women voting, women at CEO positions, women on the board, women out working, everything. Equal rights, equal for this for women. Yeah, great, have at it. I still say the toughest job in the damn world is freaking being a mom, but if that's not enough, we get it. Totally cool. Go out and do whatever it is you want in this world. You got what you wanted. And when Trump came in, they gave him that hard time. Why? They gave him a hard time and wore the pink vagina hats because a lineup of women who were basically, as far as I'm concerned, paid for and bought off. I don't have the proof of that, but that's my guess. Got up and said, Donald J. Trump touched me one time when I was in an airplane. And it was like, he breezed by me and his butt hit me in the face. And then all of a sudden he asked me out to dinner and he grabbed me by the... And it was just one after the next after the next. And these BS stories, just like Russiagate, wind up getting a whole lot of steam. And before you know it, Trump was the worst person ever born to women. These same vagina hat-wearing women, in just a matter of a snap of the fingers, changed their whole lineup of principles, changed their whole storyline. We now went from protecting women and emboldening women to actually subjecting them to biological men being in their locker room. Imagine being a father. I never had to deal with this, thank goodness. If I did, I don't know if I'd be sitting here. I think I might be in a jail cell. Imagine being a father. You've got your daughter. You've taken her to gymnastics. You've taken her to swimming. You've taken her to softball. You've taken her to all the different sports that she wanted to do. And you put all the money, the time, and the effort because your little girl wanted to grow up to be a professional athlete or a U.S. Olympian or just somebody who was playing on the basketball team for girls in high school. And you find out that some guy who thinks he's a girl, wants to be a girl, in many cases couldn't make it on the boys' teams, is now in the locker room with your little girl. Because I don't care if your daughter is 25, 35, 17, or 5. In your head, as a dad and as a mom, it's always your little girl. And you've spent your entire life trying to protect that little girl, doing everything you possibly can to protect her from the evils of the world. And now you've got to be told that you must accept that there's going to be some guy getting naked in her locker room, in her bathroom, and there's nothing you can do about it. That's problem number one. Problem number two is that despite all the time, money, energy you put into your daughter's physical development, her athleticism, everything, all the time and energy and, willpower your daughter put into it, which is really most important, that she's going to come up short. She's either not going to get her spot on the team or she's going to come in second place or last place or whatever place because a man is allowed to perform in her sport. This is how crazy our society has gotten. This is how far we fell as a nation. Newspapers, the New York Times, all these different CNN, this is CNN, all these places supported it like it was normal, completely forgetting about all the people who were marching in the street with the vagina hats. Where were they? Where were they standing up for all the little girls, for all the teenage girls, for all the college women, for all the Olympians who were wound up getting screwed? Where were they? They were nowhere. So what gives? Why? Why would that be the case? I'll tell you why. It proves how damn smart I am. On this show for years, almost on a weekly, definitely on a monthly, if not a daily basis, I have talked about how it is that the Democrat brain is not firing on all cylinders. It doesn't have all 52 cards in the deck. Something is amiss. Something doesn't make sense. You listen to them talk and you're like, how do you come up with this? Just even look what's been happening with the U.S. aid. You look at Cory Booker, right? The senator out of New Jersey. First question to the New Jersey people, what are you thinking? Getting this guy reelected time and time again. What are you thinking? Wake up, move your house away from one of the many garbage dumps on the Garden State. My Parkway, isn't that a what would you call that, Dennis? Is that a metaphor? What do you call that? Is that an oxymoron? I don't know what it is, but it makes absolutely no sense. This guy getting up there screaming at the top of his lungs. He can't take it anymore. The U.S. aid is shutting down. Really, dude? What are you getting all crazy about? It's not like we're taking food away from the homeless here in the United States. It's not like Trump said, hey, listen, we can't spend any more food on the homeless people in the corners anymore. It doesn't make sense. We're not taking away, wheelchair access from the people who can't walk. We're not taking away the handicap parking spots that are helping all of our handicapped Americans. We are taking away ridiculous money that is being thrown out, flushed down the toilet on DEI and transgender freaking nonsense in other countries. By the millions, tens of millions we're doing this. And this guy's up there screaming and waving his arms. I'm telling you, they are all mentally ill. Until we run, and I am dead serious on this, until we run autopsies on the people once they pass, and unless we find out that common denominator that just throws them into a tizzy. I don't know if it's something that happened when they were young. I don't know if it's something in the air they're breathing or the water they're drinking. I don't know if it's neglect from their parents or some woman or guy just abused them so bad, cheated on them 50 times. I don't know what it is. Maybe they had a bad teacher that touched them. I have no idea what it is, but there is something that we can find through scientific autopsies that would find a common thread, and we would be able to figure out how to stop the disease called liberalism, because it is a disease. Who in their right mind would say that this is a good idea to let these men do this? Well, I tell you one person who said it was a bad idea, Donald J. Trump. He signed an executive order yesterday that said this is not going to happen anymore. And if you continue to have it, we are going to take away your funding. Here is a video of Trump talking about the executive order from the White House.
But Marco is going to make clear to the International Olympic Committees there, and he's going to make it as clear as anybody can make it, that America categorically rejects transgender lunacy. We want them to change everything having to do with the Olympics and having to do with this absolutely ridiculous subject that we even have to talk about this subject. If you went back 10 years or 15 years and you would move forward and listen to this, you'd say, what the hell are they talking about? This is impossible. But you have people out there, Democrats, that are still totally in favor. They can't win the argument. They can't win a debate. They look like fools, and they continue to go on. Just in 2028, my administration will not stand by and watch men beat and batter female athletes, and we're just not going to let it happen, and it's going to end, and it's ending right now, and nobody's going to be able to do a damn thing about it, because when I speak, we speak with authority.
Now listen, I want to be very clear on something. I don't hate on any group. I don't hate on people who are trans. You want to know something? I'd like to see the next executive order from Trump be that they are going to open up more mental health facilities to help people who believe that they are a different sex than what they were born as. Now, there is an absolute illness called dysphoria, where people are born as a man or born as a woman, and everything lines up to where they honestly believe they're something else. This is not what has been taking place in this country. We have had a liberal crazyism shower over our children, shower over our schools, and it has been lit on steroids by social media. Okay. If I get up on social media and talk about how it is that the election in 2020 was stolen, I'm going to get shut down for breaking a community standard. But if some guy, some doctor wants to get on social media and talk about how little Jimmy can cut off his pee-pee and become little Janie, or little Susan can cut off her breasts and become Stephen, that's totally okay. We can mutilate our children. That's totally okay. Well, it's not okay. And Trump has laid down the gauntlet, thank goodness. Here is him signing the executive order yesterday with girls surrounded around him. Play it.
You want to do this? Watch what I do, and then I'm going to give you some pens, okay? You ready? What a nice picture this is, huh, Governor? You ready? We'll do a good job. Wait, let me press that. I want to make this a really good signature because this is a big one, right? Oh, I think we have a 10. We have a 10.
God bless you, Mr. President.
Pretty good, huh? Okay? Good. Now you're going to go out and win those events, right? Nice to see you all. Great going, everybody. Nice to see you. Thank you, kids. Here, take a pen. I'll give some of these out, okay? Take a pen, take a pen.
How wonderful is that to see, right? The last time you saw a video of Joe Biden with little girls, he was sniffing their hair and petting them. Donald Trump is sitting there saving them from people like Joe Biden and the Democrats who voted for him. So thank goodness we have a man in office who understands how important it is that things are kept equal and safe for the little girls of this country. And I'm serious. I really hope he does instill some sort of mental health reform. So this way, the people who need the help in this country, namely men who think they're girls or girls who think they're men, maybe they can get the help and the services that they deserve. I would rather see my money, my tax money, go to them than having my money go to USAID. So this way Politico can write crap articles about how this is such a great movement, this trans movement. With that being said, I'm going to bring Dennis in to get his 2 cents on what it is he's seeing take place and how Trump is just every day seeming to hit a different industry, hitting a different problem, hitting a different policy.
Well, it's just fun. You kind of touched upon it, and Trump says it in the video there. The fact that this is even an issue that has to be addressed is kind of baffling and crazy. It really is just the most common sense approach. Girls are girls, boys are boys. Caroline Leavitt, who I know we're going to get to in a bit, has made that abundantly clear in every press briefing that is the administration's view, and that should just be the common everyday American view. I don't know why I think one guarantee that we will see with the Trump presidency for the next 4 years is a total termination and elimination of that kind of promotion. I mean, you may get some Letitia James, like the New York Attorney General, who's trying to fight back against the transgender surgery executive order that Trump had signed, but the resistance can only be limited for so long, and I think Trump's going to score a really big win here. But I know we do want to get into as well. Caroline Leavitt held her third press briefing yesterday, and she kind of had discussions about some of the violent rhetoric that Democrats are kind of stepping up with, what they're complaining about with this USAID funding cuts. She also lists off the latest cuts that DOJ made, and of course, as she reads out that list, you're probably going to be like, why are we spending money on these things?
Play it.
Elected Democrats are so steamed about DOJ. Congresswoman LaMonica McIver says we are at war. Ilhan Omar says we might actually see somebody get killed. And Chris Van Hollen says we have to fight this in the Congress. We have to fight this in the streets. So what now?
And may I just point out, if you heard that type of violent, enticing rhetoric from our side of the aisle, from Republican leaders on Capitol Hill, I think there would be a lot more outrage in this room today. It's unacceptable, the comments that have been made by these Democrat leaders, and frankly, They don't even know what they're talking about, because President Trump was elected with a mandate from the American people to make this government more efficient. He campaigned across this country with Elon Musk, vowing that Elon was going to head up the Department of Government Efficiency, and the two of them, with a great team around them, were going to look at the receipts of this federal government and ensure it's accountable to American taxpayers. That's all that is happening here. And for Democrat officials to incite violence and encourage Americans to take to the streets is incredibly alarming, and they should be held accountable for that rhetoric. And I would just say a strong message to Democrats who are out there pretending to be outraged about the long list of crap that this administration is cutting, federal waste and funding, like $2 million for sex changes in Guatemala, $6 million to fund tourism in Egypt, $20 million on a new Sesame Street show in Iraq, $4.5 million to combat disinformation in Kazakhstan. I could go on, and I'm happy to provide this list to every single one of you. Democrats are outraged that the American people want to be, they want their taxpayers going to good uses, not stuff like this. But then they're very quiet about the fact that there are still North Carolinians and people in California who have lost everything. And in the last 4 years, this federal government did nothing to help them. This president will continue to put Americans first. And I think the successes of this week so far speak to that. And it's only Wednesday. So I'll see you guys later this week, and we'll see you this afternoon. Thank you very much.
How great is it to have somebody like her versus that Raggedy Ann, I want to be LGBTQ champion?
Oh yeah, she's a hard hitter, and that's the thing. I mean, think about it, right? You got people in North Carolina sleeping in tents in the February cold right now, but we got to make sure that Iraqi children can get their version of Sesame Street, which apparently would have to cost $20 million in taxpayer funds. Yeah. This is what Ilhan Omar and Chuck Schumer and Cory Booker are all up in arms about. And think about that too, like how compromised you must be as an organization like Politico or the Associated Press or New York Times, who also got funding from USAID. Yep. To how can you claim you can be unbiased and neutral when directly you are getting funds from the Biden administration approving our money to go to them? And now there's, the ironic timing that Politico can't pay its staff.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's the same thing. I'll even look at Facebook. I'm just looking right now at our live feed on Facebook, right? We have less than 100 people. We have 1.5 million people combined on two different pages. We have 79 people on there because Facebook, whether you want to recognize it or not, is throwing Donald J. Trump a head fake that they are going to be compliant and good to all people and not censor them or whatever. It's total BS. This is why I told my lawyer last night, because we're getting all the paperwork together. I want to sue Facebook for $21 million for the last 7 years, $3 million a year, because I believe that's what they cost me, both tangible and intangibly. And it is time for everybody in this country to keep on pressing the pedal that we want the corruption that has happened in our U.S. government, on social media, all these places that have been getting money and special interest and special favors from the U.S. government. We want the crap to end. We want it to end now. We want it to all be uncovered. We want it to be all discovered. And I think the American people have lawsuits lined up for miles and miles against all these agencies and all these places. We should be demanding a refund back where our money has gone to, that we were misled, that if you don't pay your taxes, you're going to go to jail. And my taxes aren't for what it was that was described to me to fix my country, to keep my country running. It's for bullshit and put money into and corrupt people's pockets, and it has me livid. I ask the people who are on Facebook right now, do me a favor, hit the share button. Let's just see whether or not these numbers go up, because I keep taking screenshots of this stuff. It just keeps on building my fight against Facebook. And they're just one in a long lineup of people who have screwed us along with the U.S. government.
Of course. And, Rye, just so you have it, Senator Kennedy, because it just relates well, he made such a very just great 20-second statement about how, the government's been abusing the taxpayer funds. I mean, a system we're paying into, expecting we're going to get something in return, considering, we are citizens of this country, and yet, they got to have Sesame Street in the Middle East.
Do we have the clip? Play Kennedy.
I could play it.
And really, here's what's going on. For 4 years under President Biden, the people in charge asked one simple question. who needs to pay more in taxes? Who needs to pay more in taxes? Well, that's not the question that the Republicans and President Trump are going to ask. Our question is, what the hell happened to the money? And that's all that's going on.
Now, here's the crazy thing. The left is having such a panic and a fit over Trump and how great things are with him, right? That Al Green, who tried to launch impeachment against Trump in his first go-round, is now doing it again. He's going to file for impeachment against Trump. Now, you know that this is like putting a snowball into, Key West, Florida, and expecting it to survive more than 20 seconds. But this idiot who just does nothing, like the rest of these Democrats do nothing for anybody other than just showcase and, try to get an Oscar for best performing actor as a fake politician. Listen to this absolute idiot who somebody voted for try to impeach our guy.
I rise to announce that the movement to impeach the president has begun. I rise to announce that I will bring articles of impeachment against the president for dastardly deeds proposed and dastardly deeds done. I also rise to say that the impeachment movement is going to be a grass-up movement, not a top-down. The people have got to move forward. The people have to demand it. And when the people demand it, it will be done. I did it before. I laid the foundation for impeachment. And it was done. Nobody knows more about it than I. And I know that it's time for us to lay the foundation again. On some issues, it is better to stand alone than not stand at all. On this issue, I stand alone, but I stand for justice. I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman yields back. Members are reminded to refrain from engaging in personalities toward the president.
The one thing about this time around, and he kind of said it there, as radical as those Democrats are, because they really are, I think they know that they are on the losing side because he is standing alone. I think they realize at this point, because in 2016, remember, like the back half of his presidency was always impeachment, impeachment, impeachment. If they go that route again, I mean, they should just disband as a party. They have nothing at this point.
I take a look. Today's Thursday. I take a look at the videos that we've played all week from the DNC and from Democrats. I mean, you know what I see here? I see that the public school system in the hoods are worse than we thought. I mean, this guy, there's more articulate people without teeth in a prison cell. This guy, what is he even doing there? Think about how absolute backwards you must be as a human being when you go into the voter booth and say, oh, Al Green's my guy.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. What is going on? What are we putting in the food?
He's out of Texas. Like, what the heck's
He's
going
out of
on?
You're right. The Texas, of all places, Texas, the beacon of conservatism. What city is he running for? I mean, my God. I mean, who we got? Mexicans voting for him that are illegal? That could be. Oh, don't say that. You'll get kicked off. I mean, who are these people? Wait, I'm going to make matters worse about the stupidity that we're dealing with. This was in the 47 report today, 47report.com, right? Listen to this. Speaking of legalities, Trump is facing resistance from a federal judge who temporarily blocked his executive order requiring transgender women in federal prisons to be housed with men and ending government funding gender-affirming care. So we're talking about how little boys, big boys, medium-sized boys, whatever, not being in girls' sports anymore, but some judge is going to be like, nope, it's totally cool to put a trans in women's prisons. You got to be kidding me.
This is why we're saying it's very important to read the 47 report because, in that same section there, part of the problem that I'm starting to see, and not necessarily the Trump administration, but we've been talking about the resistance that they are facing from some of these radical judges are hindering the progress. So, for example, another federal judge, Deborah Boardman, basically blocked Trump's executive order ending birthright citizen eligibility for children of illegal aliens. And you want to guess what kind of appointee she is?
Let me see. Joe Biden?
I think
how did I guess?
Bingo.
How did I guess?
I mean, how hindering is that when you have the president issuing these executive orders and then you got these radical judges putting up these temporary blocks and it's hindering the progress that they're trying to make?
Yeah. And then you know what the good news is? You got to remember one thing here. We've just started. And not everything is always going to be a victory. We're going to have some losses along the way. We're going to talk about one of them here, about something with ICE that is very, very troublesome. We'll get to that in a second. But I want to read an excerpt here from the 47 report, which we linked to a story, which is very important because Miss Bondi is now the AG. She got sworn in, okay? Let me just read this to you because it's important. Attorney General Pam Bondi will issue several major directives on her first day leading the Justice Department, including orders to combat the weaponization of the legal system, make prosecutors seek the death penalty when appropriate, and work with the Department of Homeland Security to completely eliminate cartels and transnational criminal organizations. Bondi issued a directive regarding zealous advocacy. Bondi said DOJ attorneys' responsibilities include aggressively enforcing criminal laws passed by Congress, but also vigorously defending presidential policies and actions on behalf of the United States legal challenges. The discretion afforded Justice Department attorneys with respect to those responsibilities does not include latitude to substitute their personal political views or judgments for those that prevailed in the election. What that means is those two things that you and I just read about those two judges that are pushing back on Trump, I guarantee you look into the lives of those two judges and they've got connections to illegal aliens somehow, some way, and they've got connections somehow to trans people. And this is what she's trying to say, and I want to see it enforced because these radical judges need to be thrown out.
Yeah, no, I mean, I know we have it in the 47 report, but like her objectives here are going to be pretty great, which is why, as her as AG, I think is fantastic. I mean, to that extent, she's putting a pause on all federal funding for sanctuary cities. So if you're trying to uphold those policies, you can bet that funding is now going to be stripped.
Wait, there's even more, and it's worth giving because people need to know the truth, right? So more steps that Bondi will be taking include the following. Ending the moratorium on federal executions and order prosecutors to seek the death penalty, like I said. Ordering DOJ to work with DHS to completely eliminate the threats of cartels. Now, we just briefly said that about that 2 seconds ago. The cartels, we put this in a 47 report, I think 2 days ago, just announced that they're going open season on Border Patrol agents, that they are going to start attacking Border Patrol agents who try to stop illegal drugs and illegal people to cross our own border. So, how is that going to work with the 10,000 fake soldiers that Mexico has put on the border?
I was just going to bring that up. I mean, I've been seeing the videos of their arrival to the southern border, but if you have, cartel claiming it's open season now, and we already saw, I think last week, opening fire from the cartel. It was a sector on the southern border. It might have been maybe California, but clearly, right, there's indications that the cartel is now putting out warning shots to the threatening the lives of our border patrol agents and military, because now they're at the border too. So are we really expecting 10,000 Mexican troops to be this blockade that's going to, totally deter it? I mean, it's nice that, Trump can get Claudia Sheinbaum to act, but the question is, will they follow through?
Of course not. Another thing she's doing, DOJ to identify and evaluate all funding agreements with NGOs, non-governmental organizations.
Which they're the biggest they're the biggest culprits with the illegal alien, crossings through the Darien Gap into the southern border. They are the biggest culprits when it comes to that.
You bet your ass. And I'll give a prime example of this. It's like, let's pretend that every illegal alien in the country was going to be a buyer of DML CBD. I mean, if I was a dishonest dude, what would I be doing? I'd be trying to do everything I possibly could to get illegal aliens to come in because I know now I got a customer, right? These NGOs, especially like the prison systems and stuff like that are doing this sort of thing, they entice these people to come in because they know they're going to make money from their entry into the United States.
Yes.
These transportation companies who are being paid to transport these people over the place, the more people they transport, the more money they make. And this is what she's going to try to eliminate.
In fact, Ryan's got the video. She was on Fox News last night, and it's clear that, with her now leading the DOJ, the way she's laying out the objectives, right? Like, eliminating the funding for sanctuary cities, getting the border cleaned up. So she's kind of going wide impact up. And the reason I say that is because one of the more higher profile cases that she is claiming to address, because she is very big on ending human trafficking, which a lot of actually Trump's guys that he has chosen are, beyond the fact that this needs to end. Kash Patel's huge on that. So last night she was on Fox News talking about the Epstein client list, and she said, the reason that her belief with the blockade as to why we never see that full list is because we have high-profile people like Bill Clinton on that list with the Lolita Express and everything relating to it. So we have that clip if Ryan wants to play it real quick, saying how she's going to outline how to tackle that.
Play it, Ryan.
Well, we know he was on the plane, not only on the plane a couple times, multiple times. He traveled internationally with Jeffrey Epstein. And he was on the plane called the Lolita Express because it supposedly had a bed in there where Jeffrey Epstein had young girls. He has been a friend of his, a continuing friend of his for years and years. Contrast that with Donald Trump, who hasn't spoken to him in many years, over a decade, after he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago for bad behavior. So that's the difference there. And I think Americans see the two-tier justice system. But, we don't know. They're saying Clinton has not been to his private island, but he has traveled all over the world with Jeffrey Epstein. I want to know why AG Garland and the Justice Department are so quiet on this tonight. They're out there labeling parents domestic terrorists, yet they're saying nothing about this. And these documents were so slow to come out. Human trafficking is a multi-billion-dollar business in this country, and Jeffrey Epstein is dead, and Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison for 20 years where she belongs. And if people in that report are still fighting to keep their names private, Sean, they have no legal basis to do so unless they're a child, a victim, or a cooperating defendant by some chance against some potential case against Ghislaine Maxwell. And I think Mark Garagos, as a great criminal defense attorney, will back that up as well.
There are going to be a lot of people who are going to go down hard when that Epstein list comes out.
Of course. And that's the thing, because it's been a very hot watch pursuit of, okay, when are we going to actually find out what the heck this Epstein guy was really up to and who he was up to with? But I love the greater point of, because when you look at Mayorkas and Garland, they never acted on trying to actually end human trafficking. And I think Bondi would be someone, along with the team that Trump's assembled, to actually put an end to that. I was just watching the committee, the first Judiciary Committee on fentanyl and how it's impacted the country. And you got families there, who lost loved ones through counterfeit pills, things of different nature, all coming from the border, all being manufactured in Chinese labs. And the truth is, there is such willpower to obviously stop it. So did Trump assemble the right team that in the next 4 years, we will see an end to that?
Well, it's important to say there is a willpower to stop it now under Trump.
Yes.
There has to be a willpower. There's never been a willpower before that.
Never.
And I want to be very specific to people who are listening. There is a major difference between trafficking and smuggling when it comes to people. Smuggling has been what most of us have seen on Fox News Channel and all the other different news channels that are always filming the border. It's what I saw when I made my 4 movies, by and large, was smuggling. Smuggling is, and let's just use a name, Jose from Honduras is going to pay $5,000 to the cartel to have that cartel member or cartel group bring him over into the United States. That is smuggling. That is illegal, but is smuggling. Trafficking is a whole lot worse. That is somebody grabbing somebody against their will and dragging them into a life that they didn't ask for. And a lot of times the trafficking of children and women end up with these children and women being sex slaves right here in the United States of America. And let me tell you how bad that can be, because I remember doing this, and I think it was in my first They Come to America, and it brought me to tears hearing this story. I mean, literally, I started to well up when it was told to me. The traffickers will take these girls, take them into basically a hold house, and those girls will stay there. And then what will happen is they will be raped, and there will be a guy from the cartel who will call home to that girl's family, let's just say her father, back in Honduras, okay? And the father will pick up the phone, and the cartel member will say, hey, we have Maria, okay? And Maria is our prisoner. And she is going to be raped every single day until you send $5,000. And he'll say, if you don't believe it, here she is. And they will literally take the phone to the girl as she's being raped and she's crying and screaming. And he says, it will happen again tomorrow. You'll get another phone call tomorrow if we don't get $5,000. That is what we are allowing to happen in the United States of America. Joe Biden, Barack Obama allowed that and perpetuated that to happen in the United States of America. And how it is that they are not in a prison cell themselves, I will never understand.
Don't forget, Mayorkas said that all that wasn't happening under his watch either. Which
Yeah,
is just
okay.
The
They're
biggest
so
joke.
full of it. It's unbelievable.
And he's a man who I think he's got like a few daughters too. And it's just like the fact that you could be in that position, know that you can help stop it, and you allow it to happen. It's so weaselly.
You know what? The fact that you just even said, think about what you just said, that he has daughters. These people who have daughters, that's what I'm talking about when I say mentally insane. Think about the mental insanity that needs to be flowing through your cranium in order for you to have daughters and still support men playing in women's sports and drugs coming across the border and rapists and murderers coming across the border, and to lie and pretend as if it isn't happening. You are mentally ill if that is something that you do. Now, on top of that, I want to go through a couple more things that Pam Bondi's doing, because Pam Bondi, as far as I'm concerned, when Matt Gaetz was announced that he was going to be the guy, Now, I have insiders who told me that Trump originally wanted Pam Bondi, asked her. She said no. She wanted to stay in Florida with her children because she's got a young family. She said no. Trump then went to Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz obviously hit the resistance that we knew he would. And then Trump went back to Bondi and said, please. And she said, okay, I'll take it. She is simply amazing. So a couple of little things that she'll be doing that she at least says. She's going to create a joint task force focused on holding Hamas accountable for its crimes against Jews during the terror attack of October 7. Do you know who's going to go batshit nuts over that? It's going to be Khalid Talib and Ilhan Omar, two people who should be deported in the next flight back to the Middle East. Okay, next one. Directing the DOJ to confirm the termination of all DEI programs, which is great, by March 15th. And we told you yesterday that there are Republican lawmakers who are looking to actually put this into law. So this way, the next Democrat president who comes in, God forbid there is another one, can't undo what it is that Trump's doing. Another bullet point we're saying, demanding the removal of all references in DEI training manuals. This is great because keeping that kind of stuff in, that's indoctrination. That's why so many kids grow up and you're like, how did they become liberals? Because our schools are indoctrinated with this kind of stuff. That's got to be next. That's going to be next. And then last thing, before I get your comment on that, we'll work with the Department of Education to ensure that educational institutions receiving federal grants are adhering to the fair admissions practices, because white people are being treated as if we are the devil, and it's gotta stop.
I know, and you know what? They seem serious about it. The fact that what's his name, Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, he just canceled his appearance at the G20 summit in Johannesburg in South Africa, where they're targeting white South Africans there. You know, I was going to comment just earlier. I do continue to see growing talks that the DOGE and other auditing specialists may look to really slash down the Department of Education in the next coming days.
Well, if you think about what Trump said, I think we played a video of this not so long ago. Vince McMahon, who was the guy at WWF, the World Wrestling Federation, his wife is up for being, the Department of Education head. And they asked Trump, why did you give her the appointment if she is ultimately going to get shut down? And he said, I want her to do such a great job that she takes herself out of the job. So in other words, what he's doing is he's establishing his Department of Education, so this way they could go inside, take a look at it, break off any little things that may need to be, and stick it under another department somehow, some way. I'm not sure which department that would wind up being, but ultimately collapse that thing on its face, because the education of this country should be given over to the states,
Yes.
and the states should be accountable to the parents. That's the way it is. We should not be having some bureaucrats in Washington, D.C.
Answering to Randy Weingarten of all people.
Randy Weingarten, who's a far-left liberal, who doesn't care about our kids, who just cares about making sure that teachers get their next raise and their next vacation off. And I have no problem with teachers who are good teachers. But at the end of the day, the education department and the teachers union are not about the children of this country.
No, I was going to say, Randy Weingard's notorious for just her actions during COVID alone. I think she honestly took part in ruining an entire generation of children in terms of their education. So I would love to see it if Trump's choice, McMahon. I know we wanted Tiffany justice, but if the role here is, hey, go in and gut, so that this isn't an issue anymore, then let's have at it. You know?
Just for those who don't know, Tiffany Justice is the co-founder of Moms for Liberty. What Dennis and I are going to do right now, we're going to go back and forth. We can make a couple of comments in between. 47report.com has a whole section on it called More on Trump. These are the things, because there's so many things happening right now that are going on in the Trump administration that it is almost impossible for people to know about because it's running at such an unbelievable speed. So we're going to give you some of the incredible things that are happening back and forth. We'll play a little volley here. I'll go first. Iran's foreign minister responded to President Trump's revival of maximum pressure on that country. Remember, we talked about that yesterday. He signed a whole order that says we're going to start putting maximum pressure on Iran. Iran came back and said maximum pressure is a failed experiment, and trying it again will only lead to another failure. That is completely wrong. When there are sanctions placed on Iran, and when we hold them accountable, and when we strangulate them and not allow them to have any money coming in and coming out, that country goes to its knees. People in the streets, they are freaking barely hanging on. Because, why? Not the United States of America, but because Iran and the Ayatollah has a freaking sick, demented thought in their head every single day that death to Israel and death to the United States of America. They are trying to put together nuclear arms. They are going to be very close to being able to have a nuclear weapon that could not only launch, but fly and detonate. Those are the three things you need. And so Trump is trying to stop that from happening. And they're going to sit here and say, oh yeah, the maximum pressure ain't going to work. Wait until this guy eats his own words. Because that's what's going to happen. Sanctions. You got to strangulate these people, and you got to take it where they can barely even breathe. And that's how you control them from doing what it is that they're looking to do, which is world destruction. What else?
Yeah, two more international front stories. Like I mentioned, Marco Rubio skipping the G20 summit, which is great because South Africa treats its white citizens incredibly horribly.
That's right.
And then you mentioned it yesterday as breaking news, but it's now official. Argentina, following Trump's footsteps, is officially out of the World Health Organization. Javier Milei signed into paper. They are no longer a part of it.
The World Health Organization is, by and large, China's puppet. And people have to understand that. And all those crazy things that you were told to do during COVID basically came down from the World Health Organization as being the authority. And I remind you...
Dr. Tedros.
Yeah, Dr. Tedros is the guy who leads the WHO. And I'm not talking about the rock band. I'm talking about WHO, the World Health Organization. This Dr. Tedros, he doesn't come from Harvard Medicine. He doesn't come from the Mayo Clinic. He doesn't come from Johns Hopkins. He comes from Ethiopia. When you think of Ethiopia, do you think of the beacon of health? If you went to the doctor today, God forbid, and they said, listen, you've got a brain cancer and only the most specialist people in the world can do this, is the first thing you're going to come up with saying is, I'm going to Ethiopia. No, you don't say that. Ethiopia. The only thing in Ethiopia, I think, is UNICEF videos. I mean, why do we have a guy from Ethiopia in charge of the WHO? I'll tell you why. Because he could be easily manipulated like a puppet from China. That's how it works. And from the freaking bureaucrats and the deep state in the United States of America. And the more people who jump on to getting rid of the WHO, the better off we are.
So I have a little positive tidbit for you.
What is it? I need something. I'm going to have an aneurysm.
So because of Trump's election in November, this past December, saw a 15-year recruiting record for the U.S. Army, enlisting nearly 350 soldiers daily.
That is amazing because we were at when you say soldiers, soldiers are Army. So the Army, I think it was last year, the year before, had a 65,000 person deficit.
Yep.
And now we're getting 350 a day. You do the math, right? So that, I mean, you're talking about almost 350 a day. That's incredible because that would be 3,500. That's about a little over 10,000 for 1 month. You extrapolate that over a year, we're going to pick up where we were short and double it.
Yeah.
And that's the power of Trump. You know what else I heard too? We don't have this in here, but I heard this through the grapevine, is that DHS had a major problem on its hands during the Biden administration period because the Border Patrol agents were getting so fed up at being basically expensive Uber drivers, driving illegals from the border to the train station, that they left. Now they're coming back. They're saying, can you reinstall me? I want to come back. I want to do this job under President Trump, which is a damn great thing.
DHS just started conducting raids on those apartment complexes in Aurora, Colorado that were taken over by TDA.
Yeah.
So that's
videos of that all over the place.
Yes.
Yep. That's on the DML News app. You can see that on DML News.
This was
app.
on the 47 report, and you did mention it earlier. So this is where I'm saying that we're going to really need to expand these operations and get the help that Trump is looking for. ICE has been releasing some detainees as its facilities are exceeding capacity, holding nearly 42,000 illegal aliens at 109% occupancy.
Now, this pisses me off. So this way people understand what this means.
And they're being outfitted with ankle monitors as a ways of mitigation.
Yeah, but see, that's still a problem. And so look, we are going to come to you every single day, 47report.com, with all the positive information that you need to know about Trump, because you know that the mainstream media is not going to do it. I could turn on the New York Times right now and read you the headlines from the New York Times, and you will see what they are already doing to Trump 3 weeks in. And we'll get to that in a second. So what we thought was the 47report.com would wind up being an alternate to that sort of thing. We're going to fight back because Fox News isn't going to do it, right? Fox News, never trust Fox News. Never forget the commercials and the things that they have done to try to destroy Trump, all right? So with that said, 47report.com gives you everything you need to know that's good. At the same time we're not going to take things that are bad and tuck them under the rug like they don't exist. This is one of those times.
The whole point is we want you guys to know.
You got to know.
You got to know.
So here's the thing. There are so many illegal aliens and so many illegal aliens being arrested that ICE detention centers just do not have the beds. So you and I'm talking to you, the person on the other side of the camera or listening to the show, our common sense would say, well, send these people home. Put them on the next plane to wherever it is, around the world that they came from. Get rid of them, instead of letting them back into the United States. So this way they're in the interior and they're going to wind up doing something bad to somebody. And that is what's going to crush Trump. It is going to be the worst day when we find out that one of these people with an ankle bracelet that ripped it off wind up killing somebody, hurting somebody, doing something horrendous because we let them go. You cannot allow the deportation of illegal aliens to be a window dressing event. We cannot just have fancy little clips on X and Facebook and Fox and Newsmax and be like, oh, yay, we're winning this game. We're seeing 5,000 people deported. We've got 60 million illegals in this country. If there are facilities that are overflowing with people, there's only one option. Send them home. And if some judge in frickin' the 9th District Court or whatever said that you broke the law, President Trump, who gives a rat's ass? You want to go get the 49,000 people back and bring them yourself there, Judge Rightness? Go ahead. Other than that, they're out of this country. I want to see these people released into their own country, not into mine, because it's like shoveling sand into the tide. What was the point of arresting the first time? We want to talk about how Doge is going to save us money and bring us back money. All I look at here is when I see that 42,000 people were released back into the country, I see two things: 42,000 opportunities for another American to get killed, stolen from, or beaten, and 42,000 times that my tax money went to detaining, prosecuting, locking up, feeding that person, and now I got to release them and I got to feed, I got to put an ankle bracelet on them that I spent. We're spending more ridiculous money. This crap has got to stop, and that is it. And I'll tell you right now, I'm going to give Trump and I'm going to give the administration some time here to get their crap together. But if this kind of thing, this headline is still coming 3 months from now, you're going to see me take this to a whole different level.
Yeah, and I know that's why some of their plans with Guantanamo Bay, the deal they just worked with El Salvador, I think Trump even made a joke about like reopening Alcatraz, which Governor Newsom actually was the first Democrat governor to visit Trump yesterday. to discuss the California.
Because he wants money.
I know.
The little slime ball, hair gelled rat wants money. I want to go back to hearing about we don't have room. You want room? Give me a break, man. Give me a break. Ron DeSantis built a bridge in 17 days after a hurricane here in South Florida on the west side. Do not tell me we can't take some of these decrepit buildings that we've got. You know what you do? Open up freaking Alcatraz. Open up Alcatraz right there in San Francisco. I was at Alcatraz. People visited Alcatraz. All those prisons are there. They're all set. They're all ready. Turn the fucking lights on. Open up the gates. Stick those people in there and slam the door closed. I don't want to hear we don't have room. We got plenty of room. Open up some of these freaking shut down Walmarts and some of these shut down CVSs all over the country. CVSs have been closing all over the place. Walgreens closing all over the place. Big, huge rooms. Throw some cots in there, lock the freaking things up, put a couple of cops in, and nobody's going to move until we get deportation flights. We don't need to let them back into the United States of America. That's asinine, that's stupid, and that's not what I voted for.
No. What else do we have here?
Yeah, plenty of shit.
I know.
Keep on going down the line here.
Well, we got USAID shutting down by Friday and the CIA offering buyouts to its entire workforce. So there's clearly a theme here with the Trump administration, because I saw it in the Tulsi Gabbard hearing, of condensing and solidifying our intelligence communities and agencies, because at this point, and it's probably true from what they're stating, it seems like it's so widespread. How are you supposed to keep our nation's secrets if you got way too many people with knowledge of them and yappity mouths about them?
You can't. And you know what? Trump wanted to get 5 to 10% of the government to say, I'm not coming back. Excuse me. Only 1% said it so far. Today's the deadline. Today's the deadline that you have to answer it. You know what? Extend it. Extend it another 10 days. Get out there and talk to these people and tell them why they should go out and get a different job. Because if you don't just take the 8-month, parachute, you're likely going to lose your job.
Someone who just got a new job is Lara Trump. She got hired by Fox News for the Weekend Show, replacing Brian Kilmeade.
You know what the good thing about that is that we're going to have, Brian Kilmeade sucks. The one thing we're going to have
because I know Lara Trump. I thought maybe,
I like Lara Trump.
Well, here's my thing. I thought after RNC chair, I know that there was the talks about her going for senator, maybe because of the conflict of interest.
Yeah.
I thought maybe she would be aspiring to a office run of some kind, but I guess Fox News is more her forte.
Yeah, it is definitely more her forte. She wants to be a star, and that's okay. And she is a star. She's a rising star. She's smart.
And again, she did great things for the RNC.
I don't have a bad thing to say about her. Some people were meant to be politicians. Some people were meant to be media stars. She was meant to be a media star. I love the idea that on Saturday night at 9:00, we're going to have her for 1 hour tell you how great Trump is and how bad the Democrats is. It's not a bad thing. But at the end of the day, it's 9:00 on a Saturday night. A lot of people aren't going to tune in. The bigger thing I want to hear is Lara Trump telling me she's going to put people on television and hold them accountable like I would. I want Tom Homan on the set right next to Kristi Noem, and I want her asking, why are we allowing 42,000 people back into the country? Why? Explain this to me. If there's a will, there's a way. Freaking go take the $3 million we just saved from USAID making dinosaur apps. Go buy the empty building from the CVS that just closed down in Vero Beach, Florida, and put illegal aliens in there with a couple of locks on the doors until we can send out the flight. This is not freaking rocket science. This is just common sense.
It really is. Just to cap everything off, Trump today should be speaking at the National Prayer Breakfast, so I'm sure we'll talk about that tomorrow. But Ryan has this video clipped. Yesterday, J.D. Vance spoke at the International Religious Freedom Summit, and I just think a lot of what he says about how we were just talking earlier, some of the evilness of NGOs and how a lot of them are really hardcore trying to push atheism and just anti-religious movements in other countries and, doing it on the taxpayer's dime. And I think what Vance says here is just very critical in the protection of Christianity in the country, but also across the world.
Let's play the clip, and then after the clip, I'll make a final note about Trump meeting with the Speaker of the House today. Go.
How did America get to the point where we're sending hundreds of thousands of taxpayer dollars abroad to NGOs that are dedicated to spreading atheism all over the globe? That is not what leadership on protecting the rights of the faithful looks like. And it ends with this administration. And I'd add that part of our protecting religious freedom initiatives means recognizing in our foreign policy the difference between regimes that respect religious freedom and those that do not. The United States must be able to make that distinction. We must be able to look at the catastrophes, like the plight of Iraq's Christians over the past 3 decades, and possess the moral clarity to act when something has gone wrong.
All right. Well, got to love J.D. Vance. I think he is, as of right now, proving to be the future of the party, the torchbearer. But I'll tell you, one of the next things that we're going to be talking about in a big, huge way is what may be the first wrinkle in the love affair between the Republican Congress and President Trump. Speaker Mike Johnson is going to go to the White House today with a group of House Republicans to meet with Trump to talk about a budget resolution. And the Senate Budget Committee Chair Lindsey Graham, which I can't understand why the people of South Carolina keep on voting him in. He's a step above Al Green, and it's about this big of a step, all right? He says that basically what he's going to do is he is going to mark up his own $300 billion budget resolution next week, which is basically going to throw a major wrench in Mike Johnson's plan. The Republicans need to sit down. They need to come up with one plan, bring it to President Trump, and say, enough of this crazy spending anymore. We've got to come up with a real budget for people, and that's how it is. We can't have any more of these CRs, these continuing resolutions, where we just sign this stuff and we kick the problem down the road. We have to address this face on. The other thing that's going to be big today, and then we're going to sign off, the U.S. Senate is currently engaged in an extension session where Senate Democrats are actively debating and opposing the nomination of Russell Vought to become the director of the Office of Management and Budget. And the reason being is because Vought was associated with the Project 2025 ordeal that the Democrats were screaming to people about. Don't vote for Trump because it's going to be Project 2025, which included dismantling the education department. So they're going to try all they can. But if you've seen the videos that we've been playing all week, their protests are nothing but a bunch of hot air. So Trump is going to get every single last one of his appointees approved, including Tulsi Gabbard. That's the word I get from the street. She's getting in. RFK's getting in. They're all getting in. And we're going to be able to make America great again. But this thing with the illegal aliens has me upended. And I need that to be solved, because you're going to tell me that we deported 5,000, 10,000 people? Great, but you just let 42,000 back into the interior. That's taken 2 steps forward and 5 steps back. We need to improve this. We need to improve it fast. I know we can't build Rome in a day, but we've got to take measures that make us look a little smarter, because that looks pretty stupid. With that being said, one more time, 47report.com. It's the best place to go. It's a daily newsletter in your inbox every day before the sun comes up. It's got all the great news about the Trump administration, Trump himself, the Make America Great Again movement, what's happening, stuff that they're not going to tell you at the New York Times. In fact, if you went to the New York Times today, okay, Trump's Gaza plan has many pitfalls. I mean, it's just Trump's Gaza notion sets off Democrat infighting. I mean, it's just one thing. Inside Trump's hastily written proposal to own Gaza, all they want to do is just keep on making it sound like Trump is losing. We show you that Trump is winning. He's not winning at 100%, as we just explained, but he's winning. He's moving forward more than we're moving backward. 47report.com. Sign up with your email for free. You'll get it every single day. If you sign up today and you don't get it tomorrow, or you haven't gotten it, go check your spam bucket and pull it back over into the inbox. Respond to the email, and that kind of lets Google and all these other different people know, hey, we want to get this email, and that's that. And also, don't forget dmlcbd.com/BOGO. The buy one, get one free on all site items ends on February 10. Get in there. I know we're running light on a couple of products, and once they are out, they're out, and that's that. Until tomorrow, great job, Ryan, on the clips. Great job, Dennis, producing and getting the show together. Great job for you for sharing what we do here. Without you, we would be zero. We would have nothing and nobody. Thank you so much for being with us today. We know you have choices, and the fact that you choose us makes us very proud, and we're humbled. Until the next time, may God bless you, your family, these United States, and our great president and vice president, Trump and Vance.
And today's Team DML blessing goes out to Rita Palangian. I hope I pronounced that correctly.
Rita, great last name. Run with it.
Podcast or Spotify, and download the DML News app from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store for breaking news, merchandise, films, exclusive content, and Team DML. Get the Dennis Michael Lynch podcast every day by subscribing on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.